Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're doing a Get Ready With Me for Church. So, today I want to recommend this book called Capitalist Realism by Mark Fisher. So, in this book, he starts by saying, "It is easier to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the end of capitalism." And so he talks about how capitalism presents itself as the only realistic option. And so it's literally easier to imagine the world blowing up and us all dying than it is to imagine capitalism ending and us all turning to communism or something. And so I want to say I am not a communist personally, but this book was recommended to me by a communist. And he talks about the idea of commodity fetishism, which is basically about how people believe that products have inherent value, because they're shiny and expensive, rather than the actual fact being that products have value because of the labor required to produce them. So you think of Starbucks. I'm hopelessly addicted to Starbucks. I'm a slave to Starbucks. I have Starbucks pretty much every day. And you think I love Starbucks because I like the coffee. But actually, if I think about it, I love Starbucks because it's an experience. I get to go there every day and the barista knows me really well and she asks how is your dissertation going? And I tell her how my dissertation is going. And I don't even have to tell them what I want because they already know. And so then they just give me my coffee and it comes in a cute little cup and it has a little Starbucks icon on it. And it's just fun and exciting. And that's why I pay $11 every day for a single coffee. Could I make it at home? Yeah, but would it be the same experience? Definitely not. I also get to be part of all of the other people who are also hopelessly addicted to Starbucks, which is pretty, cute and fun in itself. So that's the idea of commodity fetishism. It's that we fetishize products and think that they actually have inherent value, but they only have value because of the labor required to produce them. So you think of a Gucci top or something like that, and that might cost I don't know, $1,000 or something. And you're well, is that top actually worth $1,000? What did it cost to produce it? Probably only cost $2 to produce the top, So you're really paying for the label name and the hype. And he talks about how even resistance gets turned into a product. So he talks about the privatization of stress and how so, okay, I'm trying to understand the idea of privatization of stress. I think he's talking about how everyone is so mentally ill these days, but instead of seeing it as a caused by the wider social political structure of things, we see it as a personal problem that is to be treated individually. You should go to a doctor and deal with your stress rather than seeing it what is causing your stress. Is it perhaps the existing social structure? And then he talks about the idea of depressive hedonia. And he says that modern kids and teenagers have depressive hedonia, which he describes as being not the inability to feel pleasure, but the inability to do anything other than seek pleasure. So he's talking about how modern kids and teenagers are hooked on constantly seeking pleasure and stimulation, instead of seeking out deeper sources of meaning And he gives the example of a student in his class who would be like playing his headphones and music, and or like he would have his headphones on and he'd say like, hey, do you really need to have your headphones on in class? And the student would say like, they're not even on, like they're on his head, but like there's no music even playing. And then he'd be like, okay. And then he'd like have the headphones like on the desk next to him and the music would be playing, but he wasn't wearing the headphones. And he'd be like, do you need to be playing music through your headphones? And he'd be like, I'm not even wearing them. And it's like, okay, well, why do they need to be on your head? Like, why does the music need to be playing if you're not wearing them? Why do they need to be on your head if they're not on? And he talks about how like the student literally just wanted it to be playing so that like he would never have to be unplugged from the matrix, so that like, you know, even if I'm not wearing them, if I know that it is playing, then I know that like at least, you know, the phone is enjoying the music, kind of thing. So that is Capitalist Realism by Mark Fisher. Thank you for getting ready with me for church. You're beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, God bless you, goodbye.